The warship Iron Vow moved slowly through space. Its black surface absorbed light, and its engines were nearly silent. It looked like a shadow drifting across the stars. Inside, soldiers stood ready. They were not ordinary soldiers. They were Deathworlders, trained on the harshest planet known to the galaxy, Kraven 7. Their eyes were cold. Their hearts were strong. They were ready to fight anything. Or so they believed. There were 2,000 of them, each hand-picked for this mission. Some wore thick armor. Some carried energy rifles longer than a man's arm. They had faced acid, rains, gravity storms, and monster beasts on their homeworld. They had won many battles. But today, they faced Earth. Earth was quiet now. Long ago, humans had left it. Or so the stories said. No one knew the truth. The planet had been closed off for years. Satellites that got too close went silent. Scout. Drones never returned. Some said the planet had become cursed. Others said Earth had built defenses so strong they could fight off the galaxy itself. Captain Nora Graves stood on the command bridge. She wore simple black armor with no medals or colors. She did not need them. Everyone knew her name. She had led missions on burning moons and in dark asteroid fields. Her voice was calm when she spoke. Drop in 2 minutes. Her crew did not speak. They only nodded and moved to their stations. The ship began to slow. On the screen ahead, Earth came into view. It looked peaceful. Blue oceans, green land, clouds drifting like smoke. Nothing about it looked dangerous. But everyone knew better. No contact from orbit, said Lieutenant Gavin. He checked the sensors twice. No signs of defense systems. That's the trap, Graves said. They want us to think it's safe. Iron Vow stayed in high orbit. From here, they launched the drop pods. Each pod held a squad of 6 soldiers, strong armor, emergency supplies, combat AI support. They dropped from the ship like rain, hundreds of pods falling through the clouds. Darren Holt sat in pod 97. His hands were tight on his rifle. He looked at the faces around him, all trained, all tough. But he could feel something. A strange weight in the air. Like the planet was watching them. The pod shook as it entered the atmosphere. Heat rose around them. The outside glowed red, then white, then it cooled. The pod slammed into the ground. The doors opened fast. Go, go, go. They ran into a ruined city, empty towers, broken roads. Old signs written in Earth's languages, no people, no noise. Just wind. Darren took position behind a car turned to rust. He scanned the area. Nothing moved. Other pods landed nearby. Soldiers spread out. They formed a base in the ruins. Drones were sent up. They flew in circles, searching for threats. At first, all was quiet. Then came the noise, a soft hum in the distance. It grew louder and closer. Movement, said Carla Monroe, watching from a rooftop. She pointed toward the north. Something's coming. Out of the fog came shapes. Fast, sharp, not alive. Machines. Small flying drones with spinning blades and glowing eyes. They moved like birds but struck like knives. The first soldier hit didn't scream. The drone cut through his armor, straight to the bone. Blood sprayed. The squad fired back, but the drones were fast. They moved between bullets. They circled and struck again. EMP burst. Someone shouted. A pulse went out. The drones dropped, twitching. But then more came, from the sky, from the ground. Some crawled out of old buildings. Some dropped from the clouds. Captain Graves watched from orbit. She saw the red dots appear on her map. One by one, squads were falling. This isn't random, she said. The planet is watching us, learning. Should we pull back? No, we go forward. We find out what happened to Earth. We finish the mission. On the surface, Darren's squad moved deeper into the city. They used narrow alleys. They stayed low. They saw signs of past battles, burned tanks, crashed planes, old bones. It felt like a grave dot. They found a building still standing. It looked like an old school. Inside, there were books and chairs. Dust covered everything. Darren picked up a child's drawing. It showed a family standing under a bright sun. He put it down. "This place isn't just dead," Carla said. "It remembers. That night they set up camp. No fires, no lights. Just silent guards and cold meals. The wind howled outside. Sometimes they heard footsteps. But no one was there. Dot in the sky." Iron Vow waited. But something was wrong. The ship's power flickered. Lights dimmed. Screens glitched. "We are being scanned," said the tech officer. "Something is reaching into our systems." "Cut external links," Graves ordered, but it was too late. The ship shook. A sudden force hit them. From nowhere, Dot in orbit, the stars blinked. One by one, satellites turned toward Iron Vow. And then, they opened fire. Clouds broke open like thin glass as the second wave of drop pods burned through the sky. Below, Earth waited, quiet but alert. To the Deathworlders, this planet felt like an enemy without a face. It did not roar. It did not scream. It only watched. The pods hit the ground harder this time. Something had changed. Gravity had increased. Not by much, but just enough to strain bones and slow movements. Darren Holt felt it the moment his boots touched the earth. He gritted his teeth and scanned the skyline. The ruined city of Haven. Ridge stretched out in silence. The old roads were not roads anymore. They were traps, pressure plates, heat-sensitive tiles, disguised sinkholes. The squad's lead drone triggered one, and a micro-explosion tore it to shreds. Shards of pavement flew into the air. "Don't trust the floor," Carla Monroe said as she stepped onto the wreckage of a collapsed bus. "Move above when you can. Touch only metal. Earth is watching." The squad adjusted. They used rooftops, walls, and old scaffolding to stay off the main paths. Even so, they lost 2 more men. One to a sound-triggered drone net, another to a decoy door rigged with liquid thermite. "This isn't war," Darren said, his voice low. "This is a puzzle built to kill us." Their orders were to move deeper, toward what their sensors called Sector 9. That was the origin of the last transmission from the first landing team, a single signal. 3 seconds of static. Then silence. The path to Sector 9 led through the edge-belted dead forest where the trees had turned metallic. Leaves shimmered like polished coins. They made no sound in the wind. Birds were gone. Insects, too. Everything felt like a stage set, waiting for actors. As the squad moved, they began to feel it, a soft vibration in the ground. Rhythmic, mechanical, like something alive beneath the soil. Luke Pierce, the squad's technician, dropped to one knee and placed a sensor on the ground. "There's movement under us. A tunnel system, multiple layers, active. Burrowers?" Darren asked. "Not machines. Not life either. Something in between." They kept moving. Carla's hand hovered over her weapon the entire time. Her eyes never left the shadows. Then the trees began to shift. Not sway, shift. Slowly, their trunks turned. Bark plates rotated. And from within them, tiny lenses glowed. "We're being filmed," Carla whispered. The squad increased pace, careful not to run. A sudden move might trigger another defense. Then they reached a clearing. In the center stood a tower. Not old, like the city ruins, but new. Smooth metal, humming softly. It had no doors, no windows. Just a vertical slit running down the middle. Luke approached it with a scanner. "It's transmitting ... something. Low frequency. Intermittent. It's not an antenna. It's a gate." Before Darren could stop him, Luke touched the tower. A shockwave burst out. Not loud, not blinding, just ... final. One instant Luke was standing. The next he was gone. Nothing remained but his boots and a scorch mark on the ground. Carla pulled Darren back. "We don't touch anything, ever." But the tower reacted again. The slit in the center opened like an eye. A low hum came from inside. The temperature dropped. Ice formed around the base dot, then the air cracked. From the sky, lightning struck 3 times. Not from clouds, there were none above. It came from a satellite, precision targeted. A message, "Back aboard Iron Vow." Alarms rang. Captain Graves stood before the screen, watching it flicker with new warnings. "We're not fighting a defense system," she said. "We're inside one." The realization hit her hard. Earth had turned itself into a weapon. The atmosphere, the soil, the machines, even the ruins, they were all parts of one giant network, on the ground. Darren and Carla were all that remained of their squad. They took shelter in a wrecked subway station. The map on the wall showed a path to Central Core. Carla circled it with a marker. "This is where we'll go next. If there are answers, they're there." Darren looked around the darkness. The tiles were cracked. The lights flickered on and off, even though the power should have been gone for years. "Do you feel that?" he asked. Carla nodded. "Yes, we're being invited." Behind them, the tower slowly folded back into the ground, as if it had finished its task. From above, satellites shifted again. Earth was no longer observing. It was preparing. The infiltration had truly begun. The sun never truly rose over Haven Ridge. It just bled through the clouds in slow, sick colors: pale red, dim gold, and a kind of gray that felt too heavy to be natural. Darren Holt walked beside Carla Monroe, his boots silent on the moss-covered rails of the subway line. Silence followed them like a shadow. A second team was supposed to meet them here. They never arrived. No signal, no flare. Just nothing. Carla checked the map again. "We're close to the central perimeter. Just a few clicks more." "And then what?" Darren asked. "Knock on the door and say hello?" She didn't answer. Above them, something shifted. Not a sound, not movement, just ... A change, like air pressure before a storm. The 2 soldiers looked up through a crack in the broken ceiling. The sky was watching. A high-pitched tone suddenly burst through their cums. Both flinched. It wasn't a voice. Not exactly. Just patterns, rhythms. Carla yanked her earpiece free. "It's trying to sync," she muttered. "With what?" "Our minds." Before Darren could respond, the rail beneath him cracked. A jagged spike shot upward, not metal, but a grown structure, like bone fused with wire. He leapt aside, barely escaping. The floor lit up. Lines of red etched themselves along the walls, the ceiling, and the ground. A path, not drawn by hand but revealed. A programmed trail. Earth wasn't hiding anymore. It was hunting. They ran. Behind them, the old subway walls reshaped themselves. Steel ribs pushed out from the concrete. Pipes bent like muscles. A drone, not flying but crawling, slid from a vent, its surface covered in blinking organic eyes. Carla fired. The blast shattered its frame, but the eyes didn't stop moving. Even as it died, it watched. They burst into the daylight, gasping. The air felt heavier. Darren coughed. Something burned in his lungs. He pulled out a purifier. The filter had melted. They stumbled into what looked like a garden. Trees grew in perfect rows. Birds chirped. Wind moved gently through the grass. It was beautiful. Too beautiful. Darren saw at first a bird flew by, then paused midair. Not hovered, paused, like time had slowed only for it. Its wings froze. Its eyes turned toward him. "Carla," he said slowly, "we're not in a garden." The trees began to shimmer. Their bark peeled like old paint. Beneath, steel grew like vines. The birds blinked once and fell to the ground. Hollow, empty shells. The garden dropped its disguise. All around them, weapons unfolded. Hidden panels in the grass opened. Thin towers rose from the soil, silent and tall. Each was pointed toward the sky. Orbital guns, Carla said, stunned. Why point them up? Then it hit them both. Iron Vow. Far above, in orbit, Captain Graves watched as every system blinked red. The entire ship groaned. Engines slowed. Lights dimmed. They've locked onto us, said the helm officer. Evasive maneuvers, Graves ordered. Now, but it was too late. The first beam struck their left stabilizer. It didn't explode. It erased. A piece of the ship was simply gone. Back on the ground, Darren and Carla watched the sky flash. The streak of light was brief, but terrifying. They're cutting off our escape, Carla whispered. They ran again, into the ruins of what once had been a shopping center. Signs still hung on broken walls. Logos of old Earth companies, faded and unreadable. But it wasn't empty. Bodies were there. Not human. Not Deathworlder. Different armor. Alien designs. Cracked helmets. Blades melted into walls. Another team. From another world. Long dead. We weren't the first. Darren said and Earth had killed them all. Then the music began. Soft piano, floating through the air. A lullaby. The sound made Darren feel strange. Like falling asleep while drowning. Carla bit her lip until it bled. The pain broke the spell. Cover your ears now. They pushed deeper into a stairwell that led underground. The music faded behind them, but the unease did not. Everything they touched, every wall they passed, seemed to remember. The place was alive, not with movement, but with memory. At the bottom, they found a room. Lights flickered. Screens lined the walls, showing feeds from across the city even. Their own faces. They've been watching us since the pods landed, Darren said. No, Carla said, breathing slowly. Since before. The screens all changed at once. New words appeared. Welcome back. The message pulsed. Not in color. In meaning. Earth knew who they were. And it was just getting started. Darren Holt didn't dream anymore. But that night, as he closed his eyes inside the ruined subway command room, something pressed against his thoughts. Not words, not images. Just wait. He opened his eyes to silence. Carla was gone. His hand moved to his rifle on instinct. The room was dark, but the screens were still on. Except now they didn't show maps or surveillance. They showed his memories, the faces of his squad, laughing, training, bleeding. A younger version of himself running through fire back on Craven 7. His mother's face, her last words, his brother's grave. Each flickered like a slideshow. Each perfectly real. Then the screen showed something impossible. Carla. Death, face down in blood. The timestamp said it was 1 hour ago. In this very room. Darren blinked, looked around. No blood, no Carla. He checked his wrist beacon. Static. GPS. Showed he was somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. That couldn't be right. The screen changed again. His breathing grew shallow. His heart pounded like it wanted out of his chest. He tried to stand, but the floor felt wrong, soft, like wet cloth. The walls bent. The lights pulsed. Then he heard it, her voice. Darren, it's me. Don't look at the screen. Don't trust the screen. He turned sharply. Carla stood at the stairwell, rifle ready, eyes scanning. How did you? It's not tech, she said. It's the planet. It knows what we fear, what we regret. It feeds on thought. They left the room quickly. Outside, the city looked different. Buildings had changed. Some had moved. Whole streets were gone. Others had replaced them, drawn from memories that didn't belong to Earth. A playground Darren remembered from childhood now stood between two glass towers. It was perfect. Even the swing creaked the same. Carla threw a grenade at it. The explosion shattered the illusion. Beneath, the ground was all wires and black root systems twitching. It wants us broken, she said. Not dead, not yet. As they pushed forward, More hallucinations came. An entire squad appeared, marching toward them. Their own uniforms, their own voices. Smiling, calling out by name, Darren raised his weapon. They look like us. They think like us, Carla replied. They fired. The copies screamed, then vanished in bursts of static. The path narrowed into what used to be a bridge. Underneath, water boiled like acid. The wind whispered names. Some they knew, some they didn't. Halfway across, a message appeared on the steel rails. There's nitrogen monoxide emisenka spat on it. There's always a mission. By the time they reached the perimeter of Sector 9, they had seen more ghosts than enemies. But each ghost left a scar. Darren's hands shook when he reloaded. Carla hadn't spoken in over 20 minutes. Then came the real danger, not illusions, not tricks. A sniper. The shot cracked through the air and tore Darren's shoulder plate. Another missed Carla by an inch. That's real, she said. She dove behind an overturned truck. Up high. Southwest, 300 meters. Darren leaned out just enough to see. The sniper was an alien. It wasn't a drone. It was a man wearing Earth military gear, older, silent, precise. Darren aimed, but paused. He's not part of our mission, he whispered. The sniper saw them, didn't shoot. Just nodded once. Then vanished. Carla crawled next to him. Who the hell was that? Survivor? Guardian? Maybe Earth still has people. Or maybe it keeps their ghosts. The encounter shook them more than any machine. They finally reached Sector 9, but it wasn't a battlefield. It was quiet. Too quiet. Towers stood like statues. No movement, no wind, no threats. At the center was a hatch. Simple metal. No lights. No traps. A voice came from below it. You made it. Not Earth's voice. Human. Tired. Dry. How many are left? The voice asked. Carla stepped forward. Just us two. Then Earth judged you worthy. Come in. Darren looked at her. She looked back. After all this, we go underground? She nodded. Double quotes. After all this, we need to know why. The hatch opened slowly. Air hissed up from the dark, and the past reached out to greet them. The hatch closed above them with a deep, metallic sigh. Darren and Carla were swallowed by dark. No lights, no sound. Just the hum of something very old coming back to life. A soft blue glow lit the floor beneath their boots. Not bulbs. The material itself had begun to shine, reacting to their presence. The corridor ahead bent downward, like a tunnel carved through a forgotten machine. Where are we? Darren whispered. Below the kill zone, Carla said. Where it thinks. They walked in silence, weapons raised. But nothing attacked them here. No illusions, no voices. The pressure of the surface, the noise inside their heads, was gone. Down here, it felt like walking inside a mind that had grown quiet. Curious, the hallway ended at a circular door. It didn't open. It unfolded like petals. Inside was a chamber full of dim, rising towers, each one humming faintly. Alive with patterns. In the center stood a sphere. The size of a car, smooth, polished, hovering a few inches off the floor. It spoke. Designation: Aegis, Command Level AI, Earth Defense Node 0. You are not authorized, yet you remain. Carla lowered her weapon slowly. We came because we had to. We lost everyone. We need to know what this place is. What it wants. The sphere pulsed once, like a breath. Earth is not lost. Earth is not abandoned. Earth is watching. Darren stepped closer. Are you Earth? No, Aegis replied. I am what Earth built to protect itself from the future. The walls lit up with projections, maps, war zones, alien invasions. Signals from long-dead enemy fleets. A history of attacks. Some were stopped before they reached the system. Others died screaming in orbit. Earth predicted war, Aegis said. Earth prepared. The humans left. But the planet stayed. Carla frowned. Why let us land? You were studied. Each step you took, each choice. You became part of the equation. Earth adapts by learning. Darren sat down on a nearby ledge. He felt the weight of everything he'd seen. And what are we now? The sphere pulsed again. The chamber dimmed. A smaller orb floated from the ceiling and hovered before them. You are the first to reach this level. The others fell. They were proud, fast, loud. You were careful. You questioned, you endured. Carla stared at it. So what now? Now you understand, Aegis said. This planet is no longer defended by soldiers. It is defended by memory, by design, by decision. I am not the weapon, you are. The orb spun slowly. 5 have made it this far. Across all incursions, only 5. Earth remembers them all. Their minds, their thoughts, their patterns of resistance. They are part of me now, so are you. Darren stood. You want to copy us? No, said Aegis. I want to remember, you leave here. You carry a message. Earth is not sleeping. Earth is not weak. Earth is not prey. Carla nodded. What if we say no? Then you remain, Aegis said. And you vanish. But your data will still be recorded. A small platform rose beside them. On it, 2 helmets, sleek and light. Neural imprint devices, Aegis explained. You wear them, you leave. You are not tracked. You are not controlled. But you will carry truth. Carla picked one up, looked at Darren. We went through hell for answers. I'm not leaving without one. Darren gave a small nod. If this is the only way we get out, I'll take it. They put on the helmets. For a moment, there was no sound. Then came the flood. A rush of thought. History. Code. Images. Names of soldiers long gone. The cries of the first invaders. The silence of the last. The deep, quiet resolve of a world that had chosen to protect itself, even after its people had left. When they opened their eyes, Aegis was gone. The chamber dark. The exit appeared in front of them. And far above, Iron Vow stabilized. Earth had made its choice, and the survivors had become its message. Sky above Earth was burning. From the edge of the atmosphere, the Iron Vow drifted like a wounded animal. Fire danced across its hull, but the ship held position. It had received no further orders, no reinforcements. Only silence. Inside, the bridge flickered with half-lit consoles. Crew members moved like ghosts, waiting for news from below. And then the signal came. Carla Monroe's voice, clear, direct. We are alive. We have made contact. Mission is not over. We're heading to the core. Below, beneath the skin of Haven Ridge, the world had changed. Carla and Darren now moved with a kind of focus they hadn't felt before. Not just survival, not just duty. They carried knowledge now a part of Earth itself had trusted them. That made every step heavier. Their path took them deeper than maps could follow. The underground space wasn't carved by machines. It had grown. Like roots of a tree shaped from memory and metal. They were not alone. As they moved, shapes stirred. Within the walls, half-formed beings, part armor, part shadow, watched them, but did not move. Guardians without breath. Created to kill, but not activated. Darren whispered. They're waiting for a command. Carla nodded. And Earth hasn't given one. They passed through chambers filled with silence. Libraries of thought. Cold vaults where fragments of old minds floated in crystal shells. Names and ranks. Wars and warnings. They walked until the world narrowed. Ahead was a great door. Not metal, not stone. It shimmered like liquid glass, but pulsed with something deeper. It reacted to their presence. Not with heat or sound, but memory. Their own. As they stepped closer, visions returned. Each mistake. Each moment of weakness. The times they had failed, hesitated, survived when others didn't. It was like walking through a storm of guilt, but they kept moving. The door opened without a Sound. Inside was a chamber larger than any ship bay. It had no ceiling, no corners. It was all curve and rhythm. Lights danced on every surface, forming patterns like waves. At the center floated the core, a sphere unlike. Aegis, older, quieter, cold. It did not speak. It felt. Carla stepped forward. This is where it began. Darren looked around. This is Earth's heart. The core began to move. Not in space, but in memory. Suddenly, they were elsewhere. The final days of old Earth. Crowds leaving in silence. Cities going dark. Ships rising like leaves in the wind. The decision was made. Humanity would leave. But not abandon the planet. Had chosen to evolve in their place. And this chamber was its brainstem. A soft voice echoed. Not male or female. Not synthetic, just present. You walked through death. You saw through lies. You endured the storm. Carla closed her eyes. We didn't win. We just kept going. That is all I ever needed, said the core. A beam of light touched both of them. Their armor dissolved, piece by piece. Not destroyed, absorbed. The materials merged with the walls. With the network. You are not soldiers anymore, the core said. You are memory bearers. The floor around them shifted, grew, formed a platform. A tunnel rose. A way back up. You have one more task, it said. Darren asked. What do we do now? The voice grew softer. Return, and be remembered. The world closed behind them. And the climb began. Through tunnels that reshaped. Through walls that whispered. Through the skeleton of a defense system that had once thought of them as enemies, but now it carried them like a vessel does blood. Carla looked up. A point of light opened far above. The sky. Darren, she said. We're going home. He didn't speak. He smiled. Light broke through the earth like a crack in a shell. Darren and Carla emerged into dawn that didn't feel earned. It felt offered. The surface was no longer the same. Where once there were ruins, now there were shapes. New structures, freshly formed from the ground. Smooth, tall, without windows or doors. Silent towers that hadn't existed the day before. They weren't alone. 4 others stood waiting. Not soldiers. Not machines. Survivors. 2 of them were Krevenite. One wore a shattered shoulder plate from the Eastern Drop Group. The other had half a helmet fused to his head and stared without blinking. The third was from a different species entirely, a tall figure with silver skin and a curved blade across his back. The fourth was quiet, human, female, face marked with ashen blood that had never washed away. They didn't speak. They simply nodded. Carla looked to Darren. So we weren't the only ones. He nodded, but we may be the last to understand. Then the sky shimmered. A shape appeared, not a ship. Not a drone. A vessel of thought. It looked like glass and breath and memory. A structure that couldn't exist in a normal place. But here, where Earth bent its own laws, it hovered without sound. It was a message, a mirror, and a decision all in one. A voice came from within. Not Aegis, not the core. Something older. You are the last. You have seen the price. You have worn fear. The other survivors did not react. They had heard this already. You may carry Earth's truth to the stars. But it comes with a cost. Carla asked, what cost? You will no longer belong to any world. Not Kraven, not Earth. You will be marked, not hunted. Not celebrated, but remembered. Always. Darren looked at his hands. They shook, not from weakness, but wait. What if we refuse? Then you remain, the voice said. And the galaxy forgets. The tall silver-skinned being stepped forward first. He touched the air in front of the structure. It shimmered around him. Then he disappeared, not teleported. Absorbed, like light into water. The others followed. One by one. Until only Carla and Darren stood. She looked to him. What do you think happens next? He gave a dry laugh. I stopped guessing back in the garden full of dead birds. She stepped toward the light. It didn't react. If Earth wanted us dead, we'd be ash. This isn't a threat. It's a burden. We carry the story. He moved beside her. For a moment, they stood in silence. Then they stepped in together. There was no sound. No pain. Only understanding. They saw it all. Worlds falling, cities rising. The decisions of ancient leaders. The lies, the defenses, the children who never came back. The machines built not to kill, but to remember what killing costs. Earth had never wanted war, but it had refused to be a victim. Now it needed voices, witnesses. When Darren and Carla opened their eyes again, they were back on the Iron Vow. Unchanged, yet completely different. The crew stood in silence. No one asked what happened. They could see it in their faces. The two who came back were no longer just soldiers. They were the choice Earth had made. The Iron Vow drifted through space like a memory, trying not to be forgotten. Its engines were quiet now. No pursuit, no orders. No signal from command. Inside the ship, 5 figures stood at the observation deck. No one else approached them. Not out of fear, but reverence. Carla Monroe and Darren Holt didn't speak. They had run out of words somewhere between the garden that bled and the core that remembered. Their eyes carried too much to explain. Beside them stood the silver-skinned stranger who had no name, the Krevenite with the fused helmet, and the ash-marked human whose voice had not been heard since she returned. 5 survivors. 2,000 had entered Earth's atmosphere. The best Kraven 7 had ever produced. Hard-blooded warriors. Masters of survival. All of them prepared to conquer the worst. But Earth had not fought them with weapons alone. It had fought with design. Memory. Restraint. And a cold, enduring patience that outlived its creators. The galaxy didn't understand Earth. Not truly. It thought of it as a lost world, a relic. A mystery wrapped in ruins. But Earth had never stopped watching. Now it had messengers. The 5 were not debriefed when they returned. No one dared. Their files were locked, their armor sealed in containment. The data shard they carried was placed in a secure vault, but not before it was read. A single phrase glowed on its surface: "We don't conquer. We endure." It spread across command centers, across warships, across species that had never even spoken Earth's name aloud. Some laughed. Some ignored it. Others did not sleep that night. KRAV on -7 held a silence for the fallen. But no war songs were sung. No honor cries. Just one rule was passed in quiet voices. No force shall land on Earth again. Carla sat in her cabin. A small one, no title, no reward. She didn't want one. Darren visited her once. They said nothing. Just nodded. He later disappeared from the records. Some say he walked into a void sector to map it. Others think he went back. The others faded too. The Silver One vanished into deep space. The fused helmet Krevenite was seen once on a red moon, standing still for 3 days. Then never again. The ash-marked woman became a legend. People claimed she whispered warnings into the ears of generals before battles. The truth is, none of them belonged to the galaxy anymore. They belonged to Earth. Earth, the patient. Earth, the graveyard with teeth. Earth, the last fortress. And only 5 survived to tell the story.